You love reading. What was the last book that you read that sort of changed the way that you thought about something?
Mm. Hmm. Can we come back to that?
We can come back to that
Yeah.
later on, yeah?
Yeah.
When do you feel most in control on stage and when do you feel most out of control on stage?
I think that's a fine line. You're kind of gunning for that feeling of being in complete control, but also I don't think there's such a thing. That's a kind of a goal you never quite reach. So you're gunning for that spot where you're right on the edge of disaster, I think, and that's the sweet spot. So, obviously, if the crowd is there with you and they're connecting with the music and you can feel that energy, then that's kind of the only way you can sort of have some kind of idea that you're in the right spot. But when you feel that back from them. But I don't know. I don't know if I ever feel like I'm in control or if I'm completely out of control.
It's interesting what you said there, though, that you're kind of on the edge of disaster. That's the sort of line that you like to ride.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the Hunter S. Thompson quote, you never really know where the edge is until you go over it. Is there a point in the show when you have to go over the edge slightly to figure out where it is?
I think our this band's goal is to push where that edge is further and further. Yeah. And hope to get, to reach that height every night is what we aim for.
Has the way that you go about capturing that in the recording process, how has that evolved in terms of trying to capture that energy and that the spirit that comes from riding close to the edge?
Well, our process has certainly changed over the years. It's just like the three of us have changed. So, I don't know how to explain it. I think there's just that unexplainable thing that you're going for, and is there when it feels right, when you've pushed your limits, and you go, that's different. That feels good, and I don't know. I think that's what music's about. It's why people come to shows. They want to feel that thing too, and no one can really explain what it is, but they want that little magic thing that you don't get out of everyday life.
Do you recall, like on this last record, for instance, what you were saying there about trying to push yourselves? Where did you surprise yourself most? Where did you feel like you were most? I was going to say in danger, but in terms of when we were talking about running close to the line, maybe in danger is not exactly the correct phrase. But
yeah, I think we reached new, peaks with songs like "About to Drown In" and "Framed by the Comet's Tail." Those are examples of us very much out of our comfort zone and feeling, great about it. And I think those are some of the proud moments on the last record.
But to Drown is an interesting one because it came about because you took two kind of quite separate ideas and merged them together.
Yeah, pretty much. It was just the idea of marrying two pretty distinctly different vibes, and I think they work and they breathe together really well. But it's you've got like a minute and a half pop song, and then you have a pretty about a 6-minute ambient section that we draw out, and we like to draw out even more live. So, but that's just one of those sort of beautiful coincidences that happens with while demoing a record or a song or something, you just go, there it is. And just like I mentioned before, we all knew in the studio when it was happening that there it is. Like, not sure why. We didn't really plan it out that way, but we just knew it was right.
At what point in the process did that moment occur? Like in the overall recording of the album and putting it together?
That one was late in the game. I mean, that was very much, and this seems to happen every time we go into record. There's always an outlier that is a very raw, simplistic idea that needs the most work, and it kind of ends up shining and being the centerpiece or the highlight. So sometimes it's key, and it's hard for us. Sometimes it's key not to overthink things and not to overplan. You've got to allow for improv and allow for the sort of your surroundings to dictate, what happens on that day.
Same as a live show, like what we were saying at the start with the
Absolutely.
crowd and the venue. And
Yeah, you got to be open to that. Like I said, you can never be in complete control.
if that moment comes quite late in the day of the recording process, you close the album on it.
Yeah.
How did it change? Did it change the context of everything else you had recorded in any way? Did it allow you to see that in a different light?
I think so, because I think of that closing of the album as very positive, as very uplifting, and
Some sort of like ascending thing about it, isn't there?
yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, the chord pattern is lifting, and even the lyrics are sort of like this idea of on to the next thing and then on to something better, and so I think it does absolutely switch sort of the context of all the other songs. Like, there's a darkness there. It's very much a record that I think lyrically connected deeply with the pandemic and isolation and lockdown and everything like that, although it was written quite a bit before. But it's in that mode, and then I think it's, for the best that at the end it's this, okay, we're getting out of here. And then we're going on to, something brighter.
Yeah. How soon after you'd finished the record did you start writing again?
I usually jump right back into it, but this time around, it was difficult. We usually have this, you put all this work in and you have this record and then you go share it with the world. You get to go tour and you get that reciprocal feeling and it's a beautiful thing. And so that was not in the cards this time, and that was difficult. We did not jump right back into the cycle of another album and everything, because we were in this holding pattern of trying to get tours together, seeing if we'd be able to play, and so that was tough. It was a bit of a tough one to wrap your head around, but eventually we got back into that mode. So we're still finishing writing the next LP, but it's we're finally in the right spot to do that.
It's funny, I remember hearing quite a few bands say a similar thing where they felt like they couldn't start writing again because they just had this thing that they hadn't gotten out of the system because they hadn't played the album live.
Yeah, it's this thing you're used to, this pattern, and we're just kind of like stunned. Like, what? Yeah, so we needed some time. We needed some time away from the album to get it out of your system, and without the live shows, it was hard. You had to find new ways to kind of move on.
I guess sort of mirrored before you released it, because you sat on it for a wee while before you brought it out.
Yeah. Well, because it was pushed back because of the pandemic, and then touring was canceled because of the pandemic. So we were just going with the flow, because that's all you can do. But here we are. I feel like fortunate to be back at it and getting finally to share these tunes with everybody is good. It's good for the three of us.
There are parts to this last record tour that are a wee bit cleaner in terms of production, perhaps.
Yeah.
How important do you think accessibility is to a band sound and the compositions that you create?
Well, it's funny. I mean, I was talking to Hayden about it today, and how accessible is not the word for our music, and it's not the word for our band. I think our creative choices come more from where we're at that time. I know it was more of a guitar album this time around, with two intertwining guitar tracks. And in order to do that and have clarity, the tone of the guitars were just, less saturated, and we experimented with different guitars and different amps. And so, just I think that alone, and some of the drum clarity that Seth Manchester got, just allowed for this sort of perceived cleanliness, where of course it isn't. I mean, it's blown out pretty hard for most songs, but in order for those guitars to intertwine and work well together, you got to dial it back a bit. And so that was a lot of fun. And the first time we attempted to do that, basically with the idea that we're a 2-guitar band, so that was a drastic change for us as well.
I guess it's kind of funny too, because you're saying that, that accessible isn't the word, because I guess in terms of all the distortion and stuff that's going on, but at the same time, because all the instruments feel very tuned into this one emotion, it becomes very visceral and almost more accessible than perhaps some of the most kind of
this
music
record
that's structured that way. Yeah, just the songs in general.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's interesting to hear. I mean, I don't know. I think we're all, big fans of all styles of music, and I think that is creeping into how we write. There's no doubt if you listen to our first record and then you listen to Atlas Vending, I think we're gravitating towards hooks and pop elements far more than we used to. But that's just a natural progression, and that's just sort of like following our instincts and our interests. So I think that will continue to happen, but so will other things as far as like where our musical road leads. Just I don't know where it's going.
It's part of the fun.
It is, yeah, that's cool. I mean, you always hope for more acceptance and more appreciation in fans and things like that, but I don't think there's anything you can really do other than just follow your gut and make what you need to make at that time, and that's very much from your heart. So we'll continue on that way.
And with the first album, I remember in an interview where you compared the making of it to Fitzcarraldo, the Werner Herzog movie, when he's off in the jungle.
Yeah.
What do you feel are some good films that would be companion pieces to this album?
To this album?
Yeah. Not even in terms of comparison of the process, but just films that feel perhaps thematically similar would be good to watch alongside it.
I don't know. One. That's tough. Yeah, the books and the movies. I never think about our music in that way. Like, I mean, I obviously take a lot of influence from books and movies, but I would never be able to sort of make a comparison that way.
Is it subconscious, do you think, when you're taking influence from?
I think so. Yeah. I think you distill it all. You take it in and you distill it, and then you take what you need from it, and you might not even be sure of what that is, and it comes out in what you make. If you're consciously referencing something, I don't know. I think it's
too on the nose.
Yeah, for me, I think it would be. Yeah, I think I've probably, I think that part of making music or any kind of art is that you're distilling and melting down everything you love, and then trying to make something that can stand on its own merits, and that is one of a kind to you. And that's all you can hope to do. So, yeah, no help with those answers.
Thank you very much, then, man. It was a pleasure. Cheers.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Man, I'm fucking boiling.
I hope I'm not sweating on camera. My God.